We have a special speaker, an alum, a 1987 alum of JMU, and I want to read a little bit of background. Some of it may result in some questions later. Doug Moran has 25 years of experience in leadership roles in a variety of industries and several high-level roles with the state of Virginia. He's a public admin and political science graduate from JMU, and he had 10 years in leadership roles at Capital One Financial Services, most recently as Divisional CIO, Chief Information Officer for Capital One's Financial Services Division. He had domestic and international responsibilities. Doug's work has included being responsible for establishing and implementing the technology solutions for a variety of businesses and for mergers, acquisitions, and new business ventures. He is the founder of If You Will Lead, LLC. Most of you probably looked at the website, played the video perhaps, took the one-item survey. How many of you picked character? That's number one. Not that many. How many picked integrity? Okay. What is the number one choice?
It's usually integrity, yeah.
Integrity, okay.
No, it used to be.
Integrity. Now it's character.
Actually, patience.
Patience?
Hey,
well, no, as of yesterday, it was character. Was I wrong?
Yeah, integrity is moving down the scale.
Integrity is moving down.
That's funny, I haven't looked at that.
Yeah.
I can check. I gotta make sure.
I'm not sure people were honest about their answers. But inspired by Rudyard Kipling's famous poem, If, Doug applies several unique techniques in his consulting, including storytelling, you might want to ask about that, and traditional wisdom, and to help leaders in their organizations excel and grow. He's the author of a forthcoming book, in fact, two books, but one that he'll spend time on today is If You Will Lead, Enduring Wisdom for 21st Century Leaders. Please join me in welcoming back to town, Doug Moran.
So, thanks for having me. Did anybody get a chance to look at the website? So you got a chance to see the leadership framework, which is actually part of the same card that If is on. Just to give you a little bit of background of where this poem fit in my life and how I came to write a book about it and how it influenced my leadership philosophy. When I was about, I don't know, 12 years old or so, my mom gave me a copy of the poem. I guess it was my grandfather's favorite. And being a good 12-year-old, I proceeded to look at it and throw it away. And never looked at it again, and it really didn't sink in. But a few years after college, I was going through kind of an early midlife crisis, if you will, or I think it's not uncommon. A few years out of school, you're trying to figure out what you want to do. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I wasn't necessarily feeling satisfied. And somehow I stumbled on this, and these words, for whatever reason, really resonated with me, and I started seeing specific things I need to be doing differently in my life, in order to be the person I wanted to be. And about the same time, I started getting more and bigger leadership roles, and it just morphed into my leadership philosophy. And people would ask me, whether if I was mentoring somebody or just somebody would stop me in the hall and say, hey, would like to get better at leadership, what do you think I should do? And I would give people a copy of this or just tell them about it. And the idea eventually came for me to write a book. I was laying in bed one night rather than watching reruns on TV. I reached down, grabbed my laptop, and started writing. And I sold the book last year, and now, or earlier this year, I'm in the process of rewriting it. But this poem basically spoke to me about what it means to be a leader. And at the end of the day, if is the fundamental question there. Because if reflects the uncertainty that's associated with leadership. Everybody is a leader at one point or another in their life. Depending on the situation, in any given situation, you'll be asked to lead, or you'll be expected to lead, or the situation will force itself upon you where you'll have to lead. That's a certainty. That will happen. What's uncertain about leadership is how we respond to that challenge. Do we do it well? Do we do it intentionally? Or do we just accept it and muddle through? And I would assert that many people do the latter. They muddle through and they just find themselves leading or trying, leading with their teams, leading others in a way that doesn't reflect the kind of trust that's been placed in us when we were asked to lead. And it doesn't reflect an appreciation and a response, an appropriate response to that trust that people place in us when they ask us to be their leader or when we are given the opportunity to lead them. So I created this framework because, quite frankly, I thought I was pretty good at this. I was telling Bob's last class that when I started writing this book, I was at a point in my career, I had a huge organization, I'd had bigger organizations, but I had a lot of responsibility, and I was kind of, feeling good. I got this stuff, I can lead, I'm really good, people want to come work with me. And, what became very clear to me was after I left my corporate job, started this business, and started really studying leadership more intensely and more attentively, I started realizing that I really wasn't. I was at best competent. And I think towards the end, when I was really feeling confident and a little bit arrogant about how I was leading, I think I'd actually started backsliding, and I wasn't as good as I'd been a few years earlier. And what I've realized is that leadership is a constant and ongoing journey. It is never going to end. You're going to get better at leading every day you do it, every day you try and work at it. But you're never going to be as good as you possibly can be because there's always more to learn. And as soon as you start thinking you're good, you stop learning. You start getting arrogant, you start getting confident. And so the thing that I would encourage you to think about is that uncertainty, the if you will lead. Just to set expectations and kind of level set here, when I talk about leadership, there are tons of definitions floating around there. You probably, different courses have talked about different ways to look at leadership and define it. When I talk about leadership, I think about it in terms of that forward-looking ability, the ability to see opportunities that others don't, the ability to see a future and lead people to that future. I'm not talking about management, which is the here and now, or administration, which is looking back and saying, how did we do? Those are important. In fact, they're essential to leadership. But from the work I do, is really all about how do you create the competencies that enable you to be that forward-looking, future-oriented leader.